We talked about order and chaos. In connection with that, I'd like to briefly talk about the ultimate chaos for the body and the form identity that you are here on the horizontal dimension. And of course, no matter what you achieve here in the world of form, physical forms, you're moving towards ultimate dissolution of the physical body and most likely the psychological entity also. It's important to familiarize yourself with death. From the point of view of the physical vehicle and your form identity, one could say that every one of us is infected with a lethal virus already, but it's not a physical virus. The virus is called time, and in the end it will consume you and destroy you. That's for sure. It will kill you unless something else kills you first, which could be an accident. The seeming solidity of our world is an illusion, especially in the Western world. The denial of death has been prevalent for a long time. Not so in medieval times, but since we moved into modern times. In medieval times, in the Western world, Europe, humans were very much aware of death. It was all around them. Life was very unpredictable, more so than now, although nowadays it's also unpredictable, as we are seeing. But in medieval times, even more so, of course, so death could come at any moment. And you can see in old paintings, medieval paintings, many people on their desk or table, they had a skull, a human skull, to remind them of death. Because if you're aware of death, everything else, you have a different perspective on everything else. If you had, for example, if you were aware continuously of mortality, short-lived nature of the individual life, perhaps nothing would be all-consuming and serious anymore. If you knew any dispute or disagreement or scandals, and if you knew if you have a dispute with somebody, if you remembered in a few years we'll both be dead, somehow you rise above it a little bit. This lethal virus called time, unless something else kills you first. Traffic accident in which, as I mentioned, every year 1,250,000 people die, many of them young. Many people in the Western world die of drugs, overdoses of drugs, which are connected with unhappiness and despair, and finding something to mitigate the unhappiness and despair or lifelessness they feel, and then they are drawn to drugs, and then it kills them. And so this time virus then eventually kills you. Everybody who is here with us will be killed by this virus. It will maximum 80 years, I suppose, from now on, probably less. Certainly in my case, less. So mortality has been a taboo in the West for a long time, ever since medieval ages came to an end. In other parts of the world, death is not yet a taboo. It's still on open display, such as in India, where the dead bodies are cremated out in the open. Anybody can come and watch dead bodies being burned and carried through the streets and then being burned. That gives you more of a sense of reality, because if you deny death, you get a distorted view of things. And not only the West deny death, even old age. Most old people are now in senior residences, as they are called. Whereas in other countries, still you see they are out in the street. As I told the story of the Buddha, when he saw old people, sick people, and a dead body, then that was the beginning of his awakening, of his search. So in particular at this time, people that you know may die before their time, some. Others may already have been approaching old age, death, and then through this illness they die just a little bit sooner. So it's important to face death, not kind of think about it in a morbid way, but to face it, the fact of it, the inevitability of it, and to see that it's very important, spiritually too, to be aware of the short-lived nature of all life forms. One of the essential teachings of the Buddha is the fact of impermanence. Fear, a lot of the fear that people feel, yes, there's fear of loss, but deep down, perhaps it could all be traced to fear of death. Because a fear of loss, if you fear of losing your job or fear of losing somebody close to you, well, that's death that's happening to somebody else. Or you have a fear of loss of job, loss of your savings, loss of home, whatever it may be. Do you fear a kind of loss, a diminishment of through these things? And so these are little deaths. When you lose something that was important to you, there's a little death there.